shiver. Goalkeepers, nervous strikers, they'll deliver. Crowd roars erupted, you can feel the quake. 80,000 voices.
If you snooze, you lose. That's it in life, and that's it in football as well. Because Arsenal apparently Spurs were apparently so close to getting the deal done for Ebere Eze, but they slept on it. They slept on it, and they ended up losing out. I'm sure probably from the standpoint of Daniel Levy and all the management crew or whatever at Spurs, they were thinking, okay, we are the only ones in for this player. He only wants us, so we'll take our time, see if we can get a very, very good deal. And the player wants to leave anyway, so we'll take our time and see if we can get a very good deal for ourselves, a very comfortable deal for us. But to the chagrin, he's decided to go to Arsenal because Kai Havertz got injured. Arsenal had to step up there, had to step on the pedal with respect to getting a deal done for Ebere Eze, and apparently that deal has not been completed according to Fabrizio Romano. So that's what I've been saying about Xavi Simons. What can I say about Xavi? That's what I keep complaining about Xavi Simons, but I'll speak on that later on in the show. So this is right here. So it's very easy to Arsenal. Here we go. Verbal agreement in place between all parties. Crystal Palace to receive package in excess of £60 million as Eze preferred Arsenal over Spurs. Arsenal win race over Tottenham. So fair play. So I think I'll just change this connotation a bit so it's a bit better. Yeah. So I know a lot of Arsenal fans now are super excited on about, oh, we've got more pool than Spurs and all that jazz. So fair play. You've got your player, you've got your man. But that's just it. In football, sometimes you waste too much time on a deal, you end up losing the deal. Get the player committed as soon as possible, as quickly as possible. Get the player committed as soon as possible to sign him for you. So that's it. It's done. He's gone to Arsenal. Fair play. I think a lot of Arsenal fans are beginning to misprofile Ebere Eze, just like how some Chelsea fans are already beginning to misprofile Xavi Simons. They're kind of seeing him as a left winger. He's actually not. He's a 10, but due to his skill set, his mobility, he can drift out wide but not hold width. So he just isn't. So if Arsenal fans expect he plays out wide, then that'll be annoying for them. And it will be worse for them if Mikel Arteta also sees him as a winger. I think that will be very, very bad, in my opinion. So, what do you make of this transfer news? Of course, it broke yesterday. Ebere Eze off to Arsenal. So I'm sure Arsenal fans are super excited about this one. Spurs fans, not so much. Rival fans, what do you think about Ebere Eze going to Arsenal? Does this now make them, does it now bring them even more closer to Liverpool, or does it tip them over Liverpool? Because let's face it, the excuse of Arsenal and Arsenal fans over the years have been, we don't have a striker, we don't have a finisher. Now you've got a striker, and the fans were also going on about not having enough creativity, Martin Odegaard not being enough. Now you've got Ebere Eze in the building. So does this now bring Arsenal even closer to Liverpool, or probably even take them above Liverpool? Because don't forget, you've got a Gyökeres. Right now, if we're having a debate as to who's the better striker between Victor Gyökeres and Hugo Ekitike, who would you choose? I'm sure a lot of Arsenal fans will go for Victor Gyökeres and talk about the 54 goals he scored last season, I think, for Sporting Lisbon. So does this now make them favourites, given that Liverpool haven't signed Isak yet, and they may not end up signing him the way the whole thing is going? Newcastle United have come up to say he's tied to a contract. They haven't got a replacement for him yet, because I think once Newcastle United are able to get a replacement for Alexander Isak, then I think they'll be a lot open to letting him go for upwards of 120 million pounds to Liverpool, but they haven't got that. So at this point in time, would you say Arsenal are that close to Liverpool? And what would happen if the transfer window shuts today and come the end of the season, Arteta finishes second again. Is this something you would embrace as part of the process? Or at this point in time, if you're an Arsenal fan, you'll be pretty frustrated and will want him gone. And sports fans, how are you feeling about Ebere Eze going to Arsenal? And for me, the only thing is I always feel pain each time I read the news about Ebere Eze. Not so much about the club he's going to, but more about the fact that he could have played for Nigeria and that opportunity was missed. And it really annoys me, irritates me to this day because he's a super talented player, super gifted player. I think he quite easily competes with Odegaard and maybe even benches Odegaard, in my opinion. And so who's in the chat. So AD is here again. Says, hi, Hugo. How are you? I'm good, thanks. How you doing? Hope you're doing well as well. So Isak would go to Liverpool now, and Larsen Wissa signed for £60 million add-ons for Wissa. Now the Wissa thing is Brentford haven't still accepted any deal from Newcastle United. So will he really go? I know he's done the usual thing that players are doing now, which is threat by social media profile. So on a social media profile and removed everything concerning Brentford from his profile, at least from his profile picture. He put some black thing on there as opposed to his picture where he's in a Brentford jersey. So it's not still certain if he's going to join Newcastle. And for the Wolves player, I don't think they've really made a concrete offer for him. So it's still open. And the one striker I thought that Newcastle United could have gone for, I think apparently he's been on their list, or at least he was on their list, looks to be heading to Napoli. According to reports, Napoli are also interested in Ola Rokodari. So let's see how that all shakes out. Let's see how that all pans out, at the minute. But overall, how do you feel about Arsenal snagging Ebere Eze? I think that's a phenomenal deal for them. And then we go on to talk about other transfer news as well. So I think this around Chelsea, there is obviously the talk of Carney Chukwuemeka heading to Dortmund. Dortmund had wanted him on the loan, but Chelsea preferred to sell him outrightly, an outright sale. And at this point, I think that's fair play for both parties because right now he's not, because a loan usually you send a player out on loan usually to go out there, show what they can do, have game time. Maybe if they're an attacking player, create chances, score goals, then you can look at them and say, okay, this player has gone out and improved. We're looking to bring him. Then we're looking to bring him back into the squad, reintegrate him. But the experience that Carney Chukwuemeka would have had with Enzo Maresca and the way Enzo Maresca feels about the player just says he's not even going to play, even if he goes out on loan and scores 600 goals because of the position he plays. He plays that 10 role. And Enzo Maresca loves Cole Palmer. He doesn't ever look to drop him, bench him, rest him, whatever. So if you're Carney Chukwuemeka, you're looking at this and saying, what's the point? And he's already kind of fallen out of love with Chelsea, which is a bit sad because he said he doesn't like the way, players are treated at Chelsea. And as a Chelsea fan, he stinks a bit. But when you look at it from a human point of view, he does have a point. So it's best he goes. But for me, what's become a bit more worrisome for me is how Enzo Maresca has treated one player and how he treated one player and the fact that that player could be heading out of the club. For me, that is something where it's a bit of a worry for me because there's this one player that we have issues. Chelsea has issues with defending. Colwill is gone. He's injured, so he's off for the season. Unfortunately, ACL, so it's probably done for the season. Even if and when he gets back, the season will be done anyway. So it's done for him this season. So I was of the mindset that we're looking for options. That Chelsea will be looking for options to sign, or at least internal options. Vega is going. Vega has agreed a deal to go to Villarreal, 29.5 million euros, which is like great. Which is apparently a record-breaking transfer fee for Villarreal. That just shows the gaps between clubs. And then, of course, Disasi will be out the window as well. Now, for me, I was thinking, okay, you have a Tosin in the building, you have Chaloba in the building. The club at the minute are not looking to sign, a senior striker, and then you've got a very highly rated centre back in your squad already. But Enzo Maresca has just decided to overlook the player. Decided to overlook the player, and now it appears that this player would be heading out on loan to Dortmund as part of the deal to get Carney Chukwuemeka to go on a permanent transfer. So for me, it's just crazy, and that's why you can see the point that what's his face is making, that Carney Chukwuemeka is making, with respect to how Chelsea treats players. Remember, he was out on loan, at Strasbourg, I think, and then was recalled. He barely played at Strasbourg and then was recalled. So you're thinking he should be playing. You're thinking he should have first team game time. But given the injuries and all, but he's not given any opportunities. He's going right back on loan. And I'm a bit skeptical. I think he may not even get to play for Chelsea because of how Enzo Maresca has spoken about him, or rather hasn't spoken about him during, pre-match conferences, like the game before Crystal Palace. He mentioned Chaloba, he mentioned Tosin, says Tosin is the only one that can do what Colwill does, playing out from the back, making those passes at the right time. And then he didn't speak about Vega because Vega obviously leaving, but he also did not speak about Aaron Anselmino. And the news, obviously, you're seeing it right here that we're getting from Fabrizio Romano is that Aaron Anselmino move to Borussia Dortmund will be a loan, no buy option. Chelsea and Borussia Dortmund are discussing terms for Carney Chukwuemeka permanent move in order to approve Anselmino's loan. Now, for me, I don't get why he's being loaned out. I don't get what he's not doing in training, because that's what you usually would get. That's the pushback you would get. You get from fans right now, from some Chelsea fans. What you get would be, you don't see him in training, or the manager sees the players week in, week out in training. You don't see them. You just create videos and talk about it. Fair play. But I know how highly rated it was, and we have a lot of young players who have been highly rated as well, that have been given opportunities to prove themselves. Some of them have been able to prove themselves. Some of them have fallen down the wayside. But the important thing is that they were given opportunities to prove themselves, like your Mikhail Mudryk. He was given an opportunity to prove himself. And I think some point it was about coming kind of good until the whole issue with, things he took and things he did not take, whether he knew or did not know about it, which I think is unfair. If you don't know about something that you took, given the expertise of your personal trainer and stuff, you shouldn't really end your career like that. But I guess the rules are the rules, and we stick by them at this minute. So for me, Aaron Anselmino should be given opportunity to play. Playing out from the back is what he does. That's one of the reasons he was signed by Boca Juniors. But I just think right now is one of those things where you have this new manager thing, this young manager thing, where they see some players and they just, I don't think I like him, and the player's gone. So it's so unfortunate. It's so sad for me, because I was really looking forward to seeing what Aaron Anselmino would do. But apparently he'll be heading out on loan. Thankfully, no buy option or buy obligation. So he goes there, he performs really well, and then he can then join Chelsea next season. So maybe that's a positive side to look at it. He gets opportunities to play, and get game time and improve and play in the Bundesliga. Fair play. Let's see how it all shakes down. Hopefully he does well and ends back at Chelsea at the start of the 2026-2027 season. Now, there's another player I have to talk about, not a Premier League player, but super important to talk about him as well. He'll be heading out on loan to AC Milan with an option to buy, and that's Victor Boniface, the Nigerian international striker. It's a bit odd. It's a bit of an odd one to me, and yet again, I think it's one of those things where it's just a manager's preference. Eric Ten Hag prefers maybe a different profile of striker. For me, I see Victor Boniface as those type of strikers that, combine, that like to have a 10 close to them, that like to have a second striker close to them that it can combine off of. And Patrick Schick isn't really that sort of player. I don't think Patrick Schick is that type of player. So I'm guessing Eric Ten Hag has opted for Schick, and is it Piontek? I think those are the two strikers they have. I think probably that's what he's opted for, and that's what he's going with. So he will be going to AC Milan on an initial loan with an option to buy for 30 million euros. So fair play on that one. Now it sort of has an impact on the club in the Premier League and the strike as well. So I think it has an impact on Manchester United, because Manchester United were looking to, Manchester United were looking to sell Rasmus Højlund to AC Milan, and I think he was kind of open to going there because right now I don't think he sees himself anymore as a player or at least in the plans of Ruben Amorim, which is a bit odd. I think Ruben Amorim's system is a system that would have suited Rasmus Højlund because that's the kind of system he played, at Atalanta under Gasperini. But that's not happening. So Victor Boniface agent is on his way to Italy today for talks with AC Milan club agreement done for initial loan with 30 million euros buy option clause from Bayer Leverkusen. I think the Italian Serie A would suit him very well as well. But something I want to say, I said that about Todaro Kodare, I've said that about a lot of other players, especially Nigerian players. Be smart about it. There's no issue with signing with an Italian club, no issues whatsoever. But have your agents, have your lawyers pour through every dot, every I, every comma, every other punctuation mark in that contract, and make sure whatever you want, put it in writing. There's nothing like gentleman's agreement. Oh, we're going to do this. No. If they really, really want to do it, they wouldn't be afraid to have it in that contract. That's just how, that's just how I see it. So the fine move for him. Eric Ten Hag obviously doesn't see him as the sort of striker, so fair play. He's gone on loan to Bayer Leverkusen. Hope he goes there and crushes it from a Nigerian perspective. And I want this done sooner rather than later, because for me, I want every Nigerian player that is a senior team player in the Nigerian Super Eagles to have their future sorted out, and have their heads in the right space when they arrive for the Club World Cup. Sorry, when they arrive for the World Cup qualifiers, probably playing against Rwanda and South Africa, and then for the AFCON as well. So that's the kind of thing I would like to see. So fair play in that regard. Now, there's some other news as well that I would like us to talk about, to share, to discuss. Let me know your opinions in the comment section. What are your thoughts on this bits of transfer news? Let me know what you think. So if you just joined the show, thanks for joining. Thanks for joining Top Football Transfer News today. Firstly, we talked about Ebere Eze joining Arsenal. Thoughts and opinions on that one. Arsenal fans, are you super excited? Does this now mean you are at least favorites for the title? If Liverpool are 1A, then you are 1B in terms of favorite for the title, because your excuse used to be we don't have a striker. Now, Arsenal fans, you've got your striker in Gyökeres. Now you've got additional creativity in that midfield. Some people can argue that Ebere Eze is more creative than Odegaard, but either ways, you do have Odegaard, you do have Ebere Eze now. They can both play together, or one can start in place of the other while the other comes up from the bench. So good depth to have in that 10 row. So what do you think about that? The Chelsea fans, what do you think about Carney Chukwuemeka headed off to Dortmund on a permanent deal? And for me, it was a bit of mixed feelings, but overall, fair play, overall fair play. He's gone. Overall fair play. He's gone. He's gone. He's not going to come back to Chelsea. So at least, hopefully, the deal will be agreed. And what do you think about Anselmino going over the other way? Is he a player you would have loved to see at Chelsea? Giving game time. Do you think this loan deal is a good one? Because for me, when certain players begin to go on loan, it just a sign that they're never going to play for the club. Because when you have a highly rated player who is maybe 18 years old, you say, okay, 18 years old, go play for a club, come good, be integrated into the team, fine. Or even if he's a 20-year-old and you have top players who are ahead of him in the pecking order in front of him, you have bodies in the building already, then you can say, okay, go out on loan, get experience. But you've got Colwill that is out injured, unfortunately. Thankfully, surgery done, successful. Disasi will be leaving the club anyways. So to now loan out Aaron Ansemino, who is highly rated for me, I just feel like that's just a sign. It's kind of, I hope I'm wrong, because when you say this, sometimes people think you're just you have ill feelings for the club or something. No, I want it to work. I just hope I'm wrong that this loan, he goes out there, he's successful, has game time, plays very well, plays Champions League football. Maybe he wins something with Dortmund and then brings that back to Chelsea next season and progresses from there. Hopefully that's the case. But let me know your thoughts and opinions on that one. And then Victor Boniface heading to AC Milan. What do you think about that? Good deal or not? For me, I think it's a perfect deal. The Italian league, Italian Serie A, would suit Boniface's style of play to a T. And I want to talk about a transfer that, for whatever reason, has been causing confusion, has been, getting people irate. Someone to complain to The Hague, someone to file a case with FIFA, someone to sue FIFA, someone, the Premier League, to be brought to a halt just because of this deal. And it's just crazy to me. I think probably it's because of the way Fabrizio Romano tweeted this, but I think if you look at it deeply, you probably would understand what it is. And at some point as well, rather than complain about Chelsea or complain about a club that is trying to find ways to get deals done, why not look at your owners and say, how about you copy this model? So Julio Enciso will join Blue Coat Group, spending the season at Strasbourg, then joining Chelsea. Here we go, season 2025 to 2026 in France, and then future at Chelsea. So I think this is something initially he would go out on loan to Strasbourg and then join Chelsea afterwards. So from the summer of 2026, he will join Chelsea, and the contract would last to 2031 with option to extend to 2032. So I think that's pretty clear to understand. This is always a Chelsea deal, but it's gone on loan. I think it's how he tweeted it that made people, get really crazy. And just to let people know, various clubs have multi-club ownerships and things like that. So how about you hold your clubs responsible for not being, all too smart in their transfer dealings? So just opinions on that one. So Enciso goes to Brighton. Let's see how it does. But for me, when you talk about the deal itself, talking from a Chelsea perspective, it's not a deal that I look at and I'm super excited about. Even if he gets to join Chelsea 2026 to 2027 season, it's not a deal that I'm super, super excited for, because right now I see him as a central player. And then you're talking of getting Xavi Simons through the building. So where does he go to play? What is the plan for him? So for me, I just look at this and think of things and see it as a deal that is more or less a business-based deal, a trading-based deal, as more than a deal that Chelsea needs to do. So because Palmer isn't going anywhere. For one, he's tied to that long-term contract to Chelsea, and it'll be crazy money, maybe north of £200 million to get Cole Palmer out of Chelsea at this point in time. And then as well, you've got Xavi Simons likely joining Chelsea, maybe on Saturday. So I don't see the point of, an Enciso even joining Chelsea, because you're just crowding up space, and really he's not going to play. And it's going to be one of those things where Enzo Maresca would act like he doesn't exist, and he'll head out on some strange loan, just like you have with Anselmino. I'm sorry, fellow Chelsea fans, I think that's just what will happen. So to turn the show, thoughts and opinions on that by Ebere Eze joining Arsenal. What do you think about it? Happy about it? You think is the right option, wrong option? Thoughts about it? Boniface going to AC Milan. You're happy about it. Manchester United fans, are you upset that means Rasmus Højlund would stay for a few more hours at Manchester United? Because I think Napoli were one of the options. AC Milan as well were, I think, the closest option. But now, if they're going for Boniface, then that means that's one less club for you to get your player off to. And then Napoli, they're also considering what's his face, Tolaro Kodari. And Tolaro Kodari is a lot cheaper than a Højlund. I think it's about between 20 and 25 million euros. And a Højlund probably would be north of 40, 45 million pounds, thereabout. And that is Manchester United still going at a loss because they signed him for about 60 odd. So if they're going to sell him just a couple of years after for 40, that's close to a 20 million pound loss. And I think the way RDL ADL, the chairman of Napoli operates, I think Tolaro Kodari is a better deal for him to do. But who knows? He could end up going for Rasmus Højlund. So I think Nigerians are apparently making life difficult for Manchester United. First, it was the Napoli deal, Tolaro Kodari in there, and now suddenly he can go there. Now you've got Victor Boniface heading to AC Milan that he was looking to go to. Now Manchester United can't sell him off. So maybe Manchester United would consider a loan deal, maybe a deal in the Premier League. That would club would go for him. Maybe. And for me, I think, don't you need strength in depth? Or is it a thing where if Rasmus Højlund is sold, then you look for a cheaper option on the market, or you sign some super experienced striker and just have him as a bench option to come off the bench for Sesko? Or do you think Sesko can go the whole season? The argument can be no Champions League football, no other European football. So maybe he plays the whole season, but you do have those domestic games to play. And of course, maybe some people can say Cunha can double up as a striker, or Mbeumo can double up as a striker. But I don't quite see Cunha as that out-and-out striker that Sesko kind of is, even if he has more experience than him. So there's some opinions on that one. And the Ciso deal, Chelsea fans, what are your feelings about that? What do you think about that? And of course, when we talk about this Xavi Simons thing, I have to talk about it because we've seen what has happened to Spurs. All day, every day, it felt like Spurs were the only team in for Eze. Spurs were the team that were going to get him. And now, from nowhere, wow, you've got an injury to Kai Havertz. Boom, they've made a deal quickly, as quick as a flash, for Ebere Eze, deal done, signed, he's joined them, prefers Arsenal, and that's it. So with Xavi Simons, the longer you keep it lingering, hanging, the player may be willing to join you. But like I said, he's not like a player that is a Chelsea academy graduate that wants to come back to his boyhood club. He's just someone that wants to come to the Premier League. He's just someone that wants to have a different challenge. So what if a Man City makes a crazy bid? I know they say he's rejected Man City, he's rejected Bayern, but as a player, when you want to leave a club, as the window continues to draw to a close, the end of the window continues to draw closer, you begin to consider your options, whether that club you're holding out for really seriously need you, really seriously want to get you. So I think that's something that Chelsea fans need to be a bit wary for. I'm not preaching doom and gloom, but it's something you really have to be wary for, because we've seen it happen time and time again in the transfer window. You think you've got a player on lockdown, it ends up that you actually don't have that player on lockdown. So let's see how that shakes down. So AD says the same thing about Gonzalo Ramos and Samu and Strand Larsen. I think Newcastle United just have to quicken up. They have to decide what they want. It's enough putting out statements against Isak, oh, you're contracted to the club, you're not going anywhere. But you need to get you a striker who is committed to being at the club. You need to make a bid for a striker and get it done. So because it keeps saying people take strikers off your hands, it's because of how you've been making certain deals. You've been lagging and wasting time and taking time, apart from the Eketike one. If you do your deals quickly, get it signed up, get the players to, sign, commit to signing for you, get their signature on the dotted line. The players in the building kissing the badge in 2 days. But once you waste time, you're trying to get the best of the best of the best deals, then you end up losing out on players. You know, so I think that's where Newcastle are. This Wisa thing is just going to drag and drag on with Brentford, and that's why probably you should have got him a lot earlier, because there was a time when you had pecking order financially, a clear demarcation where you could go to a team with £10 million they're willing to sell. But now I think it's a good thing. I'm saying right now, it's a good thing where clubs now have money from broadcast rights, TV deals. They have multi-millionaires owning clubs. So a lot of clubs are no longer that immense pressure to sell their best players. So they have enough to hold on to players. Like, for instance, Brentford is a stable, Premier League club. So they're under no pressure to sell Wisa. They don't need to sell Wisa to survive. They don't need to sell Wisa to keep the lights on at Brentford. So you have to meet their valuation. Manchester United, mocked about it and then ended up losing the play and ended up paying more than they should have paid. They should have paid 65. They wasted a lot of time, big bossing it. Oh, we're Manchester United. Ended up paying £71 million. I'm saying add-ons, but I'm sure those add-ons are easily achievable add-ons. So that's it. And then with Cunha, they had to pay huge money. So Liverpool, you want to get a Wisa, you best pay the valuation and get a player in the building, because right now, today is the 21st. The month is quickly drawing to an end, and that means the transfer window is quickly drawing to a close. So on the 1st of September, that's 12 a.m., the window will be slammed shut. So if you haven't done your business, then that'll be an issue. So that's it. So that's it with that one. So for me, very straightforward news that we've talked about so far. Very easy to Arsenal. How you feeling about it? Let me know in the chats. Also, how you feeling about Carney Chukwuemeka, possibly joining Dortmund. Apparently, Chelsea and Dortmund are in negotiation for the player to make a move to Dortmund on a permanent deal. And then as well, the Ansemino thing, for me, that's really frustrating for me, because I wanted to see what it's all about, especially given the fact how highly rated it was and the opportunity that is now available in the team. I think with Carabao Cup games, League Cup games, you would have had opportunities to play, and then Champions League games too. I think you would have had opportunities to play. But I just fear that the boy is never, ever going to play for Chelsea. That's the way I see it. Because the way Enzo Maresca has approached things, it just doesn't feel like he's ever, ever going to use Anselmino. So, but anyway, let's see how it all shakes down when he goes to Dortmund. Let's see how his form carries on. And then we're talking about Renato Vega, which is a bit similar, because the coach didn't really rate him that highly. He went on loan. A lot of people had the feeling that he would come back and be part of the club, but he's come back and is still ostracized from the team. And now thankfully, for both parties, he's agreed to deal with Villarreal, joined them on a permanent deal, 29.5 million euros, about 26 million pounds. So good deal all round for everybody. So fair play in that regard. He joins Villarreal. That's a good one. But then again, from a Chelsea perspective, can Chelsea fans with chest puffed out, without fear of contradiction, say we're confident going with Tosin, going with Chalobah, going with Josh Archiampong, who is primarily a right back but can play at centre back, and then Wesley Fofana, who is a very talented player but is injury prone. So are you super confident going in the season with that, or are you even open to signing an Nkapie from Bayer Leverkusen? Is that something that Chelsea fans would want to see? You spend 60 odd million pounds to get him in. That means automatically he must play. That means Josh Archiampong probably maybe doesn't get that much game time, because if you have Aaron and Semino, Aaron and Josh will probably share that centre back role. But if you're going to spend 60 odd million pounds on a centre back, whether it's Nkapie or Antonio Silva, who I prefer, that just then would mean Josh Archiampong would no longer start that centre back positions. It would limit his opportunities, and it also means playing right back becomes a lot difficult because you've got Rich James and you've got Malo Gusto. So that means he has to, no matter what you think about the pecking order between himself and Gusto, because we can all accept, I'm sure every Chelsea fan would accept that Rich James is the number one right back. And then even if you say Josh is better than Malo Gusto, you still have the battle. He still has to battle with Gusto, and then also have the battle with Rich James as to who would play in that right back spot. So I just feel like it just means a lot of players are going to miss out on their opportunities. So fair play in that regard. And then Enciso heading to Brighton and then afterwards to Chelsea. I think it's one of those things that maybe that loan could be extended. He could be sent back on loan because this Chelsea ownership group, they operate in a strange way. He could very well be sent back on loan again to what they call him, to Strasbourg, because and then Mamadou Sarr could come on to join Chelsea back. So it's just an odd thing all round, odd thing all round, in my opinion. So now we'll look at some other bits of transfer news that sort of made the rounds in the past, I think 24 hours or thereabouts. Oh, Crystal Palace, they're looking to spend that Ebere Eze money. The Ebere Eze money. Okay, let's see what happens. Let's see what happens. Jeremy Pino, who's been an interesting player that I think at some point Chelsea were linked to him in some iteration of this ownership group. I don't think he was ever linked to Chelsea on the Roman, but so apparently Crystal Palace are interested in Villarreal winger Jeremy Pino. Crystal Palace add Jeremy Pino to their list of targets as one of the options for Eze going to Arsenal. It was an easy deal with Villarreal, but Palace asked for conditions in the last 24 hours. So right now, these exploratory talks with the player, or rather with the club, as to the fee, what it would take to get the deal done, and things like that. Of course, it's going to be difficult. When you buy players from Spanish teams, from Italian teams, German teams, it's always difficult to get a player. You always end up paying a lot more money than you would have. But when it comes to selling players to them, they always find a way to cry poverty. So, but anyway, so I wonder how Crystal Palace fans will feel about this. I don't see him as a like-for-like replacement for Ebere Eze, because I think Ebere Eze is more of a central attacking threat. He's more of a 10 than anything else. And Jeremy Pino, I think his strength is his pace, his acceleration, and I don't think he's that 10 replacement. But maybe Glasner would looking to tweak his system a bit, give more intent, give more focus to Adam Wharton, to Wharton, to sort of create from that deep line playmaker role, and that sort of thing. So I wonder how Crystal Palace fans are feeling about Jeremy Pino as a likely target for your club. For me, I think that's an interesting one. But who does it come in place of? Not Ismail Assar for sure. So who does it come in place of? So let's see how the six down. So I think either he plays those sort of let's see 2-10 role behind the striker, or he plays out wide as a winger. Let's see. Maybe Crystal Palace want to add more acceleration, add more pace, to their team, because they've got. While Eze is no slouch, he's not super electric in terms of his pace. So, but fair play to Palace. Fair play to Palace. You have to spend that money wisely. Hopefully, no one spends their Gareth Bale money like the way Spurs spend their Gareth Bale money. So what? Then Spurs sold Gareth Bale for absolute fortune and signed these 6 or 8 players, and none of them really came good. So I'm hoping Crystal Palace don't make that mistake with this Ebere Eze money. Now, speaking about players that may not play ever for the club that has initially signed them, I'm beginning to have that feeling, I'm beginning to have that sneaky feeling about this player. super gifted player, the next best thing to Messi, the new Messi to come out from Argentina and all that kind of stuff. But I think now he's gone on loan, to what's their face, gone on loan to Bayer Leverkusen from Manchester City. So official confirmed, Claudio Echeverri joins Bayer Leverkusen on loan deal from Manchester City. Diablito will play under obviously everything hard. So overall, good news for the player. I hope he gets to play there, has more game time. I think maybe with um, Victor Boniface leaving Bayer Leverkusen on loan to AC Milan, maybe that opens up an attacking spot for him. I think probably he may be best suited playing in that Florian Wirtz role, and close to the striker in that 10 role. But let's see what's happened. Strangely, he's been given the number 9. I hope everything hasn't seen him as a 9, but let's see how that all shakes out. So I just have this feeling that he may not get to play for Manchester City, because usually when you have a highly rated youngster like this, you usually give them opportunities to play. But he's just been going out on loan. But let's see how it works out with this deal, because you have wonder kids and then you have wonder kids. Like, I would put Echeverri in that class of Estavayer William, that 18-year-old, 19-year-old, even 20-year-old that you bank on. You look and say, okay, this player, yeah, he's a kid, but he's a super kid. He's a wonder kid. That's why we have wonder kids. So we're going to give him the opportunity to play in the first team. And when you keep loaning out players like this, I keep saying it drains the confidence of this player. So I just may have this feeling that maybe the Echeverri deal was more of a club deal than a Pep Guardiola deal. So that's it. And then how are Spurs looking to respond to their loss of Ebere Eze? So Spurs fans, how are you thinking your club should respond to it? Apparently, according to Fabrizio Romano, it's a bit odd the way he tweeted that bit where he went on to say Spurs are still thinking or never stop thinking of Savinho. Just an odd one to me, right? They never stop thinking about him like it's some sort of rom-com, romantic comedy or something. Never stop thinking about you. So it's a bit odd. So do you think Savinho is the player to come in and fulfill that Ebere Eze role? And then for me, the question that comes to my mind, or the thing that I'm just tweeted this odd minutes ago, is they're not the same sort of players in terms of profile. Savinho is more of a winger. Ebere Eze is more of a 10. He can drift out wide at times, but he's never going to hold width for you. He's always going to come centrally. So Fabrizio Romano just put out this tweet about half an hour ago about Spurs still being interested in Savinho from Man City. So just opinions on this one. So the tweet goes, Tottenham will try to get Manchester City green light for Savinho, as reported last night. Manchester City hierarchy blocking the move as they want to keep Savinho, but Spurs are pushing again. Thomas Frank, big fan of the Brazilian. Now, do you really, really want to keep the player? I think there are two things to ask. Now, the first one is, does the club really, when I say club, I mean Manchester City, do they really, 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 really want to keep Savinho? Because if you really want to keep a player, you just tell the club is coming, it's not for sale. You shut the door. You say it's not for sale, we're not picking your calls, we're not responding to your emails. And when I said earlier on in the video that Premier League clubs right now all have money, they don't need to sell, under no pressure to sell. Manchester City is that, and 10 times more and 100 times more, because their owners have a lot of money. Their owners can buy every club in the Premier League if that was a legal thing to do. So definitely they're under no pressure, to sell the player. They don't need to sell the player to take care of the plumbing work, at Manchester City. So this talk of they don't want to keep him, but they keep receiving offers or listening to inquiries from Spurs. It's just odd to me. Now, the next thing is, does Pep Guardiola really value him? Does he really value him? Maybe is that why the hierarchy at the club are still keeping their doors open, keeping their options open? Because if he was a player that Pep Guardiola really, really actually valued, and then the hierarchy at the club don't want to let him go, then it's easy peasy. Then you should keep the doors shut and say, we're not selling the player, right? But if maybe Pep Guardiola looked at the player and said, maybe he's not my kind of player, maybe I don't want him at the team that much, then fair play. Then that means he gets to leave. That means he gets to leave, and I get why that would happen. But for me, I feel this is a bit odd. Maybe what I would say is, maybe because Thomas Frank is this manager who's super flexible, and adaptable to his squad. Maybe what he wants is an attacking option. And since Spurs have failed, like they always do, they failed to get Ebere Eze, and now they're looking to get just another attacking option as opposed to someone who meets that profile that Ebere Eze has, i.e. a replacement for Madison that's maybe out injured for the rest of the season, unless if that is the case. So maybe they're just looking to get another attacking option. And then Savinho is obviously the winger. It's as obvious a winger as anything else. So that means that central position, you still need to get someone in that will play in that 10 role. So thoughts and opinions on Savinho going to Spurs. If you're a Spurs fan, is that something you're super, super happy with? Is that something you're saying, yeah, we're getting a good player? I think if you're looking for a winger, a young winger that can develop under a very good manager, I think he fits the bill. He's a young winger, very skillful. And for me, I just wonder why. I know that this winger who Chelsea were linked to at some point, for me, you look at the player, he's got it all. He's got power, he's got pace, got the skill, obviously. Chelsea were linked to him at some point, and he ended up going to, Al Nassr in the Saudi Pro League. I'm thinking, is that not a player that if you're a club looking for a winger, you kind of look at? Because I think he has everything that should make him ready to, fit properly into the Premier League, to fit in the Premier League side. But let's see how that all shakes down. So, to run through the transfer topics, transfer news we've talked about today, obviously we started at the top of the show with Ebere Eze off to Arsenal. And like I said, each time I hear Ebere Eze, I feel a bit upset because he should be playing for Nigeria, but playing for England, they have it. So, well, what do you think about Ebere Eze going to Arsenal? Good move, bad move? Where do you even think he plays? Because I've seen a lot of Arsenal fans saying Ebere Eze is a winger playing out wide. He just isn't. He's not. If you're looking for someone you would play out of position and then complain about the player, please let it not be Ebere Eze. I beg you. He's not a winger, he's a 10. He's mobile, he can move about, but he's a 10. So do you think he's even a good fit? Do you think he can combine well with Odegaard? Or do you even think this means Odegaard probably will rock the bench a bit? Maybe Tony Adams can have his wish. Maybe the armband could head over to Declan Rice and Ebere Eze plays in the 10 role while Odegaard sits on the bench. Is that something that is at all possible? That's something that Arsenal fans you think would happen? Or you think Arteta would tweak his system in a way to have both Odegaard and alongside Ebere Eze playing? So I was talked about Enciso going initially on a loan deal to Strasbourg and then joining Chelsea in the summer of 2026-2027 on a deal that would stretch to 2031 with an option to extend it to 2032. Chelsea fans, how are you feeling about that one? For me, where my Chelsea hat right now, I would say it's not one I'm super, super excited for. I know it's an okay, very good young player, but if you're getting a Xavi Simons, if you're getting a Cole Palmer, and Cole Palmer, I don't think he's going to be celebrating his 30th birthday anytime soon. So where does he fit in? And I see him as more of a central player. Where does he fit in? And then even if it's a wide player, you've got Estavayer William, who I think is going to have that right wing locked down for the next 4, 5, 6 years or more. So I don't see how he comes in there. And then you got Kenda coming in next season. You've got Pedro Neto already. You've got Gittins, that's another young one as well. So given that, how does an NCCO fit in to that? So that's a question I think needs to be answered if you're signing NCCO. I just think it's one of those things where Chelsea want to fatten the Christmas turkey a bit, and then probably will loan him back to sign him, unveil him, do all that beautiful stuff, cool unveiling video, and loan him back to Strasbourg, and then afterwards he gets sold. That's the feeling that I'm getting right now. A lot of Chelsea fans will not like this, but I just think that's what's going to happen, because we've seen the signs. You've got Mamadou Sarr signed last season. That's what we forget. He was signed last season and loaned back to Strasbourg as part of the deal. Then he joins Chelsea. This season you're thinking, okay, he's going to be part of the team going forward. Then immediately he goes back on loan to Strasbourg to the end of the season. Aaron Anselmino, was signed from Boca Juniors, loaned back to Boca Juniors to join Chelsea, and then he was recalled in January. Since January, he hasn't done anything at Chelsea. So you just get that feeling that some of these deals are just trading deals. They get them, push them around, up their value a bit, make them look pretty for other suitors, and then they sell them off. So I just have that feeling with this NCCO deal. A lot of Chelsea fans are throwing compilation videos everywhere, but I just think he may never, ever really get to play for Chelsea. That's what I feel about it. And then the same thing, I think, could even happen to Liam Delap, because right now, we're looking to get an Emmanuel Emega on a pre-contract, maybe a 5-year deal as well. So either himself or Liam Delap or maybe João Pedro as well could end up leaving the club next season. You never can tell with the way these owners have been doing their deals. So I think a lot of Chelsea fans are addicted to signing machine, which is signing, that addiction to signing of players, new players, bring, give me some. So that's how I feel about it. And the Xavi Simons thing, I've been saying this, I hope it doesn't happen. And in terms of, I've been saying he's a good player. I want him at Chelsea. I think he's going to be good competition for Cole Palmer. But with what has happened to Ebere Eze, it just reminds us all that you may think you've got the deal done. You may think you are the main guy. You're the primary, destination for the player. The player is committed to you. But the longer the wait goes on for the player, the closer the transfer window, comes to shorten, the more the player becomes open to other options. So, saying Chelsea, you want Xavi Simons, get it done. A lot of people say he's rejected Bayern Munich, he's rejected Man City, he rejected this club, rejected the other one. But you don't want a player to begin to consider his options. That's what you just don't want. Because if Spurs has acted quickly, gotten Ebere Eze signed, whether he was at Arsenal or not, as a kid, and that's what a lot of Arsenal fans are throwing up there, come back home. No, what is coming back home? You release the player. So what is coming back home for? So get your deal done on time and get it sewn up. And then Manchester United, it just feels like they are stuck with Rasmus Højlund. He's not going anywhere at this point, because there was links to Napoli. It seems Napoli are leaning towards Tula Rukudari more. Then there was the links to AC Milan, but now another Nigerian striker has headed there, Victor Boniface on loan, with an option to buy for AC Milan 30 million euros. So Manchester United, you have to look for other options. Maybe Villarreal, Valencia, one of those clubs in La Liga. Maybe that works out. Let's see how it goes. And then there was this news making the rounds about Arsenal, that Ademola Lookman was offered to Arsenal, alongside offer to Chelsea and a lot of clubs. His agent is working overtime to see if he can get a move, but he has returned to training at Atalanta. Now, the thing with Ademola Lookman for me is a bit odd. It's a bit odd that such a top player, and I think Arsenal, he's better than every option they have at left wing. He's just better. At Chelsea as well, he's better than every option that Chelsea have right now, at the left wing, whether it's Gittins, obviously Tyreek George, whether it's even Garnacho, he's a better option. But right now, I think Chelsea are committed to Garnacho, because something about football deals is someone in the club would like you, would want you. And we've got Pauli and Lowry fully in love with Garnacho, ready to swipe right. And that's it. They like Garnacho. They want Garnacho in the building. So you've got different, would I say, factions at Chelsea that when they want players, they push for it. Joe Shields, one of them, when he wants a player, he pushes hard for the player. Because I think probably he's the one pushing hard for Samuel Edozie, from Southampton to go to Strasbourg. Because if he goes to Strasbourg, that's how would I say, that's the route to Chelsea. So he's pushing for that one. Although Samuel Edozie seems more open to the idea of going to the Belgian league. I think for me, if you get an option, you go to a club where you can play. So you're looking at RB, you're looking at Club Brugge. So maybe he goes back to Anderlecht. And then again, when you look at Strasbourg, you keep getting lots of players pushed to Strasbourg. Lots of players get pushed to Strasbourg. So at some point, I think as a young player, look at the club. Am I going to get game time there? And despite the investment in Strasbourg right now, if you go to Strasbourg and hog the bench, your value is not that high. So if you're going to Strasbourg, you want to make sure you're going there to actually play. So the thing about Ademola Lookman is just a bit odd. He's usually a nice, calm guy, because that was the whole excuse about Victor Osimhen. People say, oh, he made that video on IG complaining about the national team coach, so that means that's why he didn't get the deal, that's why he didn't get the move. So what are we saying now about Ademola Lookman? 18 goals and how many assists 2 seasons ago? 15 goals, 5 assists this season, still 20 goal contributions. How many wingers can say they can give you that? Still doesn't get to move because clubs couldn't agree stuff. So we're talking about that. And then we're moving back to Chelsea. Some transfer news about Nkunku. RB Leipzig interested in the player, flirting with a loan, but Chelsea obviously want a permanent sale of the player. And I think right now Nkunku, he's not at the age where you want to loan a player out. I just think so. 26, 27, thereabout, you want to be at a club that you call your home. That's your main club. Some people just say, oh, go on loan, you get game time, you play there. And we forget many times as football fans that these players are actually humans. They have families, they have children, they have to plan for, they have to uproot these children from their schools, and plan their lives and everything else. So if you're sending a player on loan, that means sometimes the player looks at it and say, okay, my child, my son, my daughter will have to be in school in England while I'm in Germany, for instance, and they keep fluctuating and keep moving back and forth. So you want a permanent deal to know that, okay, this is done, it's completed. I'm moving to Germany full-time, family, kids, everyone comes along with me. We're off to Germany for 2 or 3 years, those sort of things. So I think that's why the player himself is open to a permanent move. Inter Milan look at him as an option as well, because he was, I think, second on their list of targets. They wanted to get Ademola Lookman as the number one target, which is a bit odd to me. Your number one target, I think you should be doing your utmost to meet his valuation. But I think when you look at what they offered, I think it's kind of fair for a player is what do they call it now? His contract is running down. I think it's fair, as opposed to Atalanta thinking that he's worth a lot more. I just think the whole thing is just odd and crazy to me that Ademola Lookman, a player of his caliber, a player that achieved what he's achieved, is having to be farmed around and offered. Agent has to be now begging clubs for them to sign, which is just odd. So he speaks to a lot of things. Definitely not his quality, definitely not his character, definitely not his temperament. Because the next thing you're going to see out there, someone's going to say, oh, he's got character issues. That's what they always say. And then, of course, we had the bombshell yesterday about Isak. So Isak put out his own statement. The club put out their own statement that he's not going anywhere, that they're looking. I like the way they put their statement, though. They're looking to reintegrate him in the family when he's ready to be reintegrated. So the whole thing for me with Isak is 2 things. First one is, if you felt this way, that your promises were broken since last season, and you want to leave, and Liverpool is the only destination for you, Why didn't you start these tantrums? Why didn't you start this madness that you're doing right now? Why didn't you start it all that time before Liverpool went on and snagged Hugo Ekitike? You know, and then Liverpool as well. Why did you go to sign Ekitike if you still have interest in, what's his face, Isak as your primary number 9 target? Or has the plan always been to take Ekitike, even despite the interest of Newcastle United in Hugo Ekitike? Has that always been the thing? Maybe that's always been it. But for me, just a right old mess right now. And Newcastle United, each time they have a target, they keep dancing around the target. That's something their board has to look at. They have to look inwards. At some point, the Newcastle United fans have to hold their board, their directors, they have to hold them accountable. Why do you play around certain deals? Why not just get it done? But let's see how it develops if he ends up playing for Newcastle United. I think fans are pretty fickle. So he comes in, he scores 2 goals, kisses the badge, does an apology gesture, bows down to the fans, and then for all is forgotten. But let's see how it all shakes down with that one. And then, of course, we talked about Renato Vega. Renato Vega Chelsea have agreed a deal for him to join Villarreal. I think that is going to go on smoothly because he's just been willing to leave Chelsea. The talk of joining Dortmund, he was open to it. Talk of joining Benfica, he was open to it. And fair play to him, he is a very good defender. Chelsea fans may not like to hear that. Sometimes the sporting directors, the ownership group of your club can make errors. Your coach can make errors. I know we're in the age and time where people are looking for their Jose Mourinho. They're looking for their, they're looking for their Ferguson. They're looking for their Wenger. So they feel the way to do it is to support everything their coach does. For me, that's just not in my DNA. It's not in my system. I look at things. If I don't agree with it, I'm going to say, I don't kind of agree with this. Yeah, I don't like the Aaron Anselmino thing going on loan to Dortmund. I don't like it. I don't have any power to do anything about it, but I can say my mind. I can say I don't think that's something that should be done, especially given the fact that Colwell is out. You could have used him alongside Josh Archiampong, alongside Tosin and Chaloba, given the fact you're going to sell Disasi anyways, and Badger Shield is not that great. It's a bit funny because a coach would look at Badger Shield and look at Aaron Anselmino and say, Badger Shield is the guy. For me, Badger Shield, I don't know how people enjoy him play. Now, let's compare Colwell and Badger Shield. When Colwell plays out from the back, you see how crisp the pass and how quickly the pass leaves his foot. But when it comes to Badger Shield, you see how delayed and labored his passing out from the back is. He stands there and waits for the attacking player to be smacked in his face. And somehow, some way, that's a defender that, Enzo Maresca loves and rates. And a lot of Chelsea fans are like, ooh, Badger Shield. And I'm saying, really? So I think that's what we're at. So Chelsea fans going into next season, because right now it feels like Aaron Anselmino, rather going into the season, you feel like Aaron Anselmino is already going to join Dortmund, so there's no need to fight too much about that one. He will go, and Colwell unfortunately is out. So you happy with Badger Shield, Tosin, Chaloba, Josh Archiampong as your centre back options? You need more additions, or you're happy with that? You're super confident in all the names that I've mentioned as centre back options. I think Josh has shown he's grown. He's really grown, really improved, really mature. So for me, happy with him. Happy with Tosin. I think Tosin is wildly underrated. 6'5", shows himself about when it comes to blocking tackles. Has very good passing range. I'll say excellent passing range for a centre back. But for some reason, people don't value him that much. Some people see him as mainly a bench option. I think Enzo Maresca also sees him as a bench option. So, yeah, so I'm okay with him. But Badger Shield, not so much. Disasi, the system doesn't suit him, so he can go because he's very slow in terms of his pace. And Maresca most times want to play a high line. So I don't think that would really work with the Disasi in your team, in my opinion. And then, of course, talked about Nkunku leaving to Leipzig, possibly leaving to Leipzig or Inter Milan. For me, I'm all about that move. Fair play. You should move and play on. And then the Garnacho thing, the implication of Garnacho coming to Chelsea is this. If he does come to Chelsea, that means Tyreek George will be out, will be on his way. That's just what I think. I think the moment he signs, you hear talk about Leipzig coming in back for Tyreek George, or Dortmund even coming in back for Tyreek George. And though I don't want it to happen, I just think probably it will be a permanent transfer. That's what I just feel. Because when you look at Gittins 20, Garnacho, I think in and around the same age, 21 or thereabout, and then you just think you don't have any opportunities to play. Now, people will come up with this rhetoric of, how about you fight for your place? Well, one person as competition, yeah, you can fight, but two, three people ahead of you, then that's a question that we have to ask ourselves. Is that something you would really want one of your best prospects to be faced with? So, so that's it. That's it about that. So, what are your opinions on all the items we talked about? And let me know your thoughts and opinions about that. So, and Savinho, we talked about Savinho possibly going to Spurs. Spurs are still super interested in the player. What are we doing about that one? How are we feeling about that one? If you're a Spurs fan, obviously I'm not a Spurs fan. So I just, like I said, I feel it's odd. I feel it's an odd one for Savinho to be a target after you wanted to get a 10 and now you're going out for a winger. How is that going to work for you? It just feels like the transfer strategy is a bit all over the shop. Although you can say you want to rely on what's his face, Thomas Frank's tactical flexibility. Now, I tell you, a coach doesn't want to be forced into being flexible. He would like to be flexible because he's responding to a game. So I'm sure he had his plan in his mind. Say Madison would be my main guy, number 10, but he's injured. We want to get a 10 to come in to be in that position that he would play. But overall, in fair play. So that's the main transfer news and topics we had to discuss today. Just some opinions on all of them. Let me know in the chat. If you're new to the channel, please hopefully you smash the like button and you subscribe to the channel as well. And I'll see you on yet another video. So stay well, stay blessed. Bye-bye.